Hi, welcome to Someone Else's Movie, the original podcast where an actor, writer, director, or nebulous industry figure gives a little love to a movie they didn't make. I'm Norm Wilner, I'm a critic, consultant, and programmer based in Toronto, and this is the other thing I do. My guest this week is Lucile Hadžihalilović, the French auteur who's carved out a fascinating niche for herself with visually sumptuous and thematically unsettling films like Innocence, Evolution, Earwig, and The Ice Tower. Dark, bewitching fables which have now been collected in a magnificent Blu-ray box set from Severin Films and Yellow Veil Pictures, The Worlds of Lucile Hadžihalilović. It's on shelves today, and you should grab it while you can. Lucile picked last year at Marienbad, the 1961 avant-garde masterpiece from screenwriter Alain Resnais and director Alain Resnais, a black and white widescreen nightmare. A black and white widescreen nightmare in which we follow a man and a woman played by Giorgio Albertazzi and Delphine Seyrig as they wander around an endless party at a beautiful estate. He pursues her, and she asks him to pursue someone else. But he will not be denied, insisting they already know each other, and that she's pledged himself. A year earlier, she's pledged herself to him. Is he telling the truth? Is she? These questions only lead to others, building a massive labyrinth of metaphor and suggestion that have transfixed audiences for 65 years now. The only thing to hold on to is that there is nothing to hold on to, but we're still trapped inside. This is Someone Else's Movie.
So I chose last year in Marienbad, l'année dernière à Marienbad, because it's one of the films that I saw when I was still quite young. That was probably when I was 20 years old. And I really was, it was such a shock for me because I never had seen such a film. I mean, a film where that was outside of the usual narrative plot type of characters, but was such a the artistic aspect, the visual, the soundtrack, the way of the narration was so different and so striking. So I thought, oh, this is how you can make films, not necessarily with usual plots, not necessarily naturalistic. I loved very much the artificial aspect of it, but at the same time, I thought it was so very deep and very, in terms of emotion. Many people said that, it's very cold and distant, but I thought it extremely full of emotions, probably repressed emotions, repressed even trauma, if you want to think about what is it about. But the artificiality of it, this mixed with theatrical aspect and great cinematic aspect, was something I was really mesmerized because it's a very hypnotic film of also. So I felt like I was dreaming the film while seeing it.
I understand that experience. I saw it. We didn't see it in film school, but I saw it the year after at a repertory screening in the dark at a crumbly old theater in Toronto, and it was hypnotic. Mm-hmm. It creates this dream state, and I'd read about it and I'd heard about it. Its reputation preceded itself. This was, 1988 or 89, so it would have been almost 30 years after its release. Mm-hmm. And I underrated it. I didn't receive it as it was intended. I think it's the problem with showing someone Casablanca or Citizen Kane in North America, where they've seen pieces of it parodied more than they're ready to experience what the actual feelings and meaning are. It took me a long time to catch up to the film. I think I had to get older. I think I had to age out of my 20-year-old cynicism.
Do you think it had to do also with the language? For instance, the fact, because I suppose you had to read subtitles, which make it more difficult to really receive this hypnotic experience of a film, because also the voiceover is absolutely amazing in the film, and the way it's mixed with the music and how it disappears sometimes, recome, and there is a sort of melody of the words that hypnotize you too. So I always thought that for a foreign audience that doesn't understand French, it's a pity really very much, because there is a sort of a barrier that you can't go through, even if maybe at some point, if you rewatch it without, you could also think that you don't need to understand what is being said, and nevertheless being really, how to say, taking inside this world and understand many things, or feel many, or understand many things, because also the visual, the place, the way they move, the actors are already saying a lot in a way.
Oh yeah, no, Sacha Vierny's compositions and the just the tracking shots that glide us into the world and through each room.
Camera movement, is like and the location is of course is a character by itself, and says a lot, and the repetitions of it, and it's like a poem. In fact, I think very much like a song.
Well, it does definitely have a melody to it that haunts the characters and the recurrences of dialogue and the even just the way characters will stand with each other, and Delphine Seyrig is posing with her hand over her collarbone.
Yeah, the way she acts very theatrically and very fake, but a marvelous type of fake acting, which of course is what he wanted to get, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm Canadian, so we had French in school, and I can understand. It's the language I almost understand the best. Okay. So I can always tell when the subtitles are leaving out phrases. So it wasn't that for me, I don't think, but I think it was just my own unevolved palate. I was not ready for the meaning behind the film.
Because you thought that you didn't have access of a meaning, and you couldn't let you into just this place or this world.
I think I was naive in that way, cinematically, that I could see what was happening, and I understood what the mechanics of it were, but the meaning of it, the melancholy, the loss, or even the insistence, or the persistence, just didn't connect to the larger mood. I could admire it, and certainly every time I watch it, I just watched it again last night, and now that I am much older, I think I appreciate the sense of missed opportunity and loss and melancholy and desire that runs through it in a way very differently from when I was 20. But I'm also much more conscious of the man. I mean, they don't have names. It's X and Y and A, but X and M and A, sorry. I'm much more conscious of the way Giorgio Albertazzi is imposing himself on Seyrig, in a way that I definitely did not catch the first time around. And so much of the sort of the veiled sadism of that this man, whether he's telling the truth or not, whether they're alive or dead, whether they exist in this odd space in the palace, all of those things are secondary to the fact that this is ultimately, I think it's a film about possession, that this man has returned or just arrived or manifested to claim this woman.
Yeah, it's funny because when I saw it the first time, so as I told you, when I was probably 20 years old, I didn't even, I was also very naive, so I didn't really catch the implication or find it unpleasant or find, what now, of course, I see behind all that, and not even behind, but in it, I was just taken by the rhythm, by the melancholy, by the mystery, and maybe I love mysteries, and that's why I was so attracted by this film. So before thinking that, of course she's kind of it's a sort of harassment. It's an harassment that this man is putting on her, with her. And maybe even you can even go to point to the thing that, and I think in fact it was something he wanted to do, René. So you could imagine there has been a rape, and I think it's something René wanted to have, and then he decided, or maybe it was Rob Grillet who wanted to put a rape in the script, and René said, no, I can't, I'm not able to, I will not be able to shoot that. And then he transformed it in something much more abstract. But anyway, I was not, I just thought it was such an amazing, mysterious, beautiful place. And they were so, I have to say that the actress was so fascinating to me. So I'd love to be like her. So that was my first very naive attraction for the film is, oh, wow, would it be to live in such a world, no? And then, of course, I felt the anxiety, the sadness, and so on. And then more, and the more I grew up, the more I saw the layers of the anxiety, the oppression, and as you said, the possession. This man who is speaking, because I think it's mostly him who speaks.
Mm-hmm.
And like if you try really to take her back and to maybe, and how she resists to that, I realized, this is something I realized little by little, how much she was reluctant to say, yes, I do remember, yes, that happened to us last year or whatever it was. And there is very, very sort of dramatic, abstract moments, and I didn't really perceive what it meant at the time, but of course now it seems very obvious. And this question of aggression, sexual violence, and that is not shown directly, but it's very much there. And the way he tries to, it never let her go is very scary, in fact.
Yeah, it becomes much more overt too when for me anyway, once I familiarize myself with Rob Grillet's work and the films he made on his own and with his partner, as opposed to René, who is much more reserved in his presentation, although not in the emotional content. The film is roiling with desire and need and terror and intensity. It's just that it's so, as you say, repressed. It's so far under the surface.
Yeah. This is what also makes it so somehow attractive, and it's that you feel so many things under the surface, and at the same time you are not aggressed by it, but it comes inside, and then it's very, and also because of a formalism, so strong formalism, and stylization, and it could be that is also oppressive in a way, and even if it's so beautiful, so wonderfully done and staged, but it's the formalism is both attractive and oppressive, which is a interesting combination.
Yes. Every time I see it, I'm struck. I mean, I must have watched it 7 or 8 times, I suppose, all the way through, and then bits and pieces over the years for reference points and things. Every time I watched it, I noticed how unnerving the opening sequence is, the stopping and starting of the actors, the players in the background freezing in tableau, and the voiceover continuing, the music starting and stopping. And this time, for the first time, I paid attention to how long that sequence is. It's 20 minutes before they actually connect.
Uh-huh.
And you're trapped with it. It's incredibly daring, especially for then, 1960. I mean, you couldn't expect people to have that kind of patience in a cinema, but we are given no choice as the audience. We are just stuck in this place with them. And
trapped, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the time they connect, I think we understand both of them. And he speaks of wandering the halls for days or years, forever. Mm-hmm. She just regards him for so much of that and takes him in, and it's left to us to wonder whether she gets to leave as well. She talks about arriving, or he does too, and there's every time they go outside, they're confronted with the statues that mm-hmm. may or may not represent also, frozen, certainly represent frozen people, frozen bodies. Mm-hmm. But this time I started questioning, how the way that he describes the statues in an absolute concrete way. The hound is only there close to her because the platform is so small, and she wants to see a metaphor. She wants to see the art behind it, and he refuses to take that in, I guess because it distracts him from his mission, which is her. But there's all this space around them, and it still feels threatening.
No, it is, because it's like if it's what they are going to become, like a sort of just I don't know if it's dead or dead things, or they are going to be frozen and not alive to move. They're frozen in certain emotions or and representation, and it's and it goes very much. It's another way of showing there is a repetition of elements. There is the statues. There is also the fact they are so the way they move, very sort of clumsy way, or not clumsy, artificial way, very bit like if they were dolls sometimes, especially her. And I think it all goes in this way of like if it, and it also it's like something that's happened with cinema. I mean, it's also, there is sort of mise en abîme with the cinema itself, when the image are frozen somehow. I mean, it's an imitation of life. Yeah, it's maybe that it's there is a sort of imitation of life that you never can totally represent the life itself. So it's already frozen in some attitude or feeling. But I think at the same time that might be a film about some repressed trauma. It's about film about cinema, and of course I think René wanted to adapt a novel by Bioy Casares, which is Morel's invention. Do you say that in English? L'invention de Morel, the invention of Morel.
Yeah.
Morel's invention, yeah.
I think so.
Where it's about, it's sort of a device like cinema, and where you see some scenes being repeated, and like within sort of imitation of life, but also frozen, repeated, and so the film is very much about that, in fact. And also it's a film about the representation also, and there is this amazing moment with a theater play, which is telling you what the film is about somehow also, and the audience is totally, it's very strange, because the actors are like dolls a bit, the two actors on stage. I mean, dolls in a way that they are very with mechanical movements. Mm-hmm. And also the audience of this theater, of this play, is totally frozen at first, and then that slightly began to get alive. It's a very, very, very strong moment in the film, and what is being said on that play is what is happening in the film, because I think the man says something and the woman denies it, and so it's already like giving you the what is it about, but in a very mysterious and elliptic way.
It's Heinrich Ibsen's play, I think.
Yeah, it's supposed to, yeah, I think it's a sort of synthesized
an approximation of it.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't read the play, so I don't know exactly, but yeah.
I was not familiar with it either. I'm still not, but it is like, it's fascinating to me that Ibsen, who was beloved for his psychological intensity and directness on stage, serves as the launching pad for something that is so completely opaque that 60, 70 years later, people are still fighting over what it means and whether it's good. I really enjoyed
about the film, not about the play.
The film, yes. Yeah. I really enjoyed catching up to the reviews of the period and realizing that people, you bring yourself to any art, obviously, and you impose your point of view on the experience. That's what makes it so powerful and subjective, and how 500 people in the dark can all have different responses to the same thing. But to read, Pauline Kael just dismiss it as a perfume commercial and just be completely dismissive of something that is not only revolutionary in terms of its cinema, but is so powerful that even now, as with Casablanca, as with Citizen Kane, you see it everywhere. It's never stopped echoing, and to the point now that it's the sort of fractured relationship to time is standard for television. To the mainstream, it's completely recognizable now. I think off the top of my head, watching it this time, yes, it's The Shining. Obviously, Kubrick is stealing the tracking shots in the empty hotel for his own purposes. But I also thought of Carnival of Souls, this revolutionary 1963 film that inspires Night of the Living Dead, and they all pull back to this.
Well, we can imagine that Kubrick, I don't know if he ever talked about Resnais but I think probably, and not only last year in Marienbad, because there's all this experimentation of Resnais did with many, even most of his films. Maybe that's about how to give this feeling of consciousness flux. I don't know if you said that, consciousness stream of consciousness, and this world of how dreams and memories work, and how much just movements and places and space can create some content, mean something, and you can, even if you are not totally conscious, and if you can't put words on that, then it's the way to use the space and to move inside the space, or to is also saying something. And probably, Kubrick is a good example of how he could have reused that. As for things like Carnival of Souls, I don't know, I think it's maybe that you can come from different direction and arrive to certain same experience. It's interesting with the films you mentioned, like Carnival of Souls, or these films, that they don't come from they come from a more, let's say, I don't know if you say popular ground, or less when in France it's a very intellectual ground, but nevertheless at the end you arrive to the same sort of conclusions, no? The same stuff that you I don't know where I'm going with that, but
yeah, no, I know what you mean. I did find it interesting that all of my comparisons and the titles I think of that are generated, that reach back to this, are horror films, ostensibly. I mean, they're I don't know that Last Year in Marienbad is a horror film. I don't think it is, not really, but it is creating a horrific tone and a disquiet, a distress in the viewer.
Absolutely, there is distress, there is fear, there is anxiety, there is a trauma probably beyond that, and it doesn't want to show you. And maybe again, it's Resnais who just wanted to keep in a distance from some images and representations, but nevertheless, yes, you're right. There is a horror behind all these beautiful worlds, and it's not a genre film, but it's something that it's hidden, and the more the fact that it's repressed or hidden, but also it is hidden, but also it's very visible through the formalism, through the structure of a place, this is what is amazing. You don't need it's very abstract, but because it's abstract, it's even powerful, I think, because you can't put your finger on what it is, and it's even more scary because you don't know really what happened. You don't know what is it about. You don't know who is even speaking, or who is she. Does she exist or not? Or it's the Carnival of Dead, of Souls also. But apparently not, but yes, but not. So that's what is so exciting. And this film also always, I think, escaped from you. and this is his power, and this is also beyond the way they're dressed, the makeup, all that. It's not never. It's still modern, but it's not. Would you say fashionable? I mean, maybe it has been used by people, or all this imagery, even the costume, the fevers, but something escaped always. And I think the film, by his, I guess, by its abstraction, always renew itself somehow and you can project different things on it because it's still abstract somehow. At the same time, by being very concrete in terms of what the costume, the details, so many details in this place, with the painting, the flowers, and of course the element of like the cards, the matches they are playing with, and which is also a reflection of the film itself, and so on. So it's like it opens doors, and you don't know what is behind, and it's very physical, but also very abstract.
Yeah, and the game that you can't win certainly feels relevant.
No, yeah, exactly. You never can find the the rules to win. Yeah, that's true, which is wonderful.
Hey, it's Norm, interrupting my own show to bring you up to speed on Shiny Things, my newsletter about physical media, culture, and the odd streaming project. Last week I wrote about new discs of The Late Show, Eraser, 50 First Dates, and Slither. And subscribers to the paid tier got my exclusive reviews of the animated comedy Among Us and new stand-up specials from Patton Oswalt and Kumail Nanjiani in Friday's What's Worth Watching dispatch. Sign up for a 14-day free trial at shiny-things.ghost.io and get caught up. You like reading about movies? I like writing about them. Come check it out. The aristocratic nature of the events, too, that the fact that these are all people in sitting rooms and drawing rooms and at a bar dancing to a waltz rather than anything modern, feels like, I mean, it's 15 years since the end of the war, and
yeah,
maybe these people never left. They might all have been there
absolutely
pretending.
You absolutely don't know when it happened, because they could be disguised. You said that, déguisés, disguised. Maybe not their real clothes. They pretend they are. Yeah, that's true. They can be from the 50s, but also from, I don't know when exactly. But yeah, it's very timeless, and also you feel that this, and because you only see them inside this world, and you have no idea how is it outside and how they could be. Probably they can't exist outside of that, but so they are, yeah, they're not, again, it's artificial the way they present themselves with this, and also it's like archetypes a bit, and not cliche, but archetypes, I would say. And even the situation, the hotel, this idea of the hotel and the bar, the place where they can play, but it's more than that, because there's also these shooting places, which is, so you would not expect that. So it goes into dark corners also in this hotel, not only the beautiful corridors and rooms, and it's something quite I mean, yeah, and that comes from the unconscious also, I think. But again, it has to do with keeping it quite abstract.
Yeah, just the idea that there's this beautiful place where every now and then the men go in their smoking jackets to fire guns in what looks like either an attic or an underground basement. You know, horrible things either have happened or could happen. Absolutely,
and also the choice of the cast, and the how the faces of the two men, which, I mean, they are, and especially I don't know if he's the husband or or what's his letter for him. It's M. No, I don't remember.
Yes, he's M.
M is very has something very scary. Is the way he looks at things. His eyes is something quite threatening, and he sees everything, and you think he's a master of a game, but is not really, but is, or maybe he is, or maybe he's probably not at the same time. Yeah, that's very, you can't grab a definitive answer about who is who and what are exactly their relationship. And but for sure, she is frightening. She's frightened by something.
Yeah. I mean, is he keeping her, or is he trying to keep her safe? Those are strange little gestures here and there.
Also, and then she should escape, and she should remember, because then she could go away. But
yeah, it's an endless text, and we could obviously go into it forever. But the reason we're talking is because you have a box set coming out, and that was my segue. You excel at creating enclosed worlds in your films, with much more aggressive artifice, shall we say. But your work is heavily metaphorical and engaged with themes that are bubbling under the surface in much the same way. Here we have the sense that something is going on that we don't quite understand. Mm-hmm. And this box that's coming out is this incredible collection of sort of competing visions of humanity. I don't know any other way to explain it, but your sense of the dynamics is as sharp, I think, as what's going on here in the whatever passes for a love triangle in Marienbad. There's an ambiguity to your films, and we're led into it by the hand, but then we can pretty quickly figure out who has the power and who doesn't, and what that means. And I just find it, and I find it as endlessly fascinating to sink into one of your films, and experience the sort of handcrafted otherness that seems unique to you still, even as long as you've been doing this. Other people maybe have tried, but I think you're on something that no one else can quite touch, and I find that frequency really mesmerizing.
Thank you very much for saying that. No, but I realized how much, in a way, and to go back to Marienbad, why it had such an effect on me. And maybe I don't think I was at all conscious when I began to make my own films that maybe something's come from that. But indeed, the fact that it's it's people living in a place which is both sort of a paradise or wonderful place, but at the same time scary, oppressive. So, and try to get out, but also try to understand the rules of it comes very much from that, and trying not to use plot, and not trying to use psychological elements, but just more physical space, atmosphere, soundtrack, and etc. Maybe it comes from Resnais in part. When I saw it, I thought, wow, this type of film can exist, and we can be drawn to it so much. So yeah, so I could today, now I can see the references. I can see the influence of Resnais in my films, and maybe in some more than others, but maybe more in the Ice Tower than in the others. But but it took me a long time to realize that. And when people are asking me what are the films that influenced me a lot, then of course Marienbad is always one of the 5 most. And because of this maybe mystery, craftness, and the way you express emotion of the characters, and yeah.
I mean, I find your films have a similar unspoken quality where people don't need to explain things to each other. But in your case, in your films, that's because the structures are already in place and everyone recognizes them, and it's up to the audience to figure it out. I think in Marienbad, it's impenetrable to the characters as well.
That's true. And also it's funny because you say unspoken, and which is amazing with Marienbad. There's all this voiceover, but the voice doesn't tell us doesn't give us the information. It's something else, and it's a sort of it's a spell. It's and it's about the texture of the voices also, and what the kind of the effect that it has. Yeah, in fact, I'm not as daring as I'm not audacious like Rob Grillet and René, but so yeah, my characters are more, I think, and sometimes when people say, oh, we don't understand your films, I'm kind of surprised, because I think it's quite simple, in fact, and quite about very ordinary, and I hope emotions that people can share, have experienced themselves, and we can share all that. So it's not so bizarre about the characters themselves. Maybe in Earwig it's a bit different, because the man is quite opaque, and difficult to understand. But apart from him, yeah, the children and the young people it's something we except that I realize how much so many people have difficulties to identify with children.
I was going to say, yeah.
Protagonist. I realize that with innocence, when people say, "Oh, but some people can, but some of us can't," and sometimes it's not a problem for them. They just look at them like I don't know, insects, no, or how to identify with a girl, the little girl of 6 years old. For some people, it's very difficult, even with the 10 years old boy or whatever. So I thought that sometimes we have forgotten so much the child in us that it's hard to connect again with them. But
I wonder, my pet theory is that unless it's explicitly a children's film, audiences don't want to feel the vulnerability of a child, or the vulnerability that we felt as children.
No, but it's true. They are not films for children, but for adults, and also because these children are kind of lost and in this strange environment, or with this bizarre rules and around them, and scary rules. Yeah, I think many people doesn't like that. Yeah, to be lost somehow, to be destabilized by being a child again.
Yeah, I remember people saying they didn't like Clio Bernard's The Selfish Giant because they were too concerned for the child. And it's like, that is the point of the film. You're supposed to feel helpless for him.
Yeah.
Do you find, I mean, filmmakers talk about working with children as a different sort of challenge, because they're going to do what they want to do and direction is difficult. But your films, I'm assuming it must just be incredibly fun for a kid to be on those sets and play with the worlds. Do you find it easier to direct kids than?
I don't know. It's different. Yeah, I find a lot of pleasure in it. I found it really fun. Sometimes it's very difficult, because when they don't want to do it, they don't want to, you don't know how to make them doing some things. But no, I think what is really great with them, it's the fact that they know what it is to play, and they let's say that we are a girl like who lives in this strange school, and yeah, they enjoy that. And of course, when they are several at the same time, it's even more fun for them. For in innocence, I think most of the time they had fun, because also there were a group of girls together, so it was like they could play even in front of the cameras. They have to play. Sometimes I thought it was very boring to do a few things. It was more about sometimes being bored, but and so it's like very fresh. It's about now. It's not about why do they do that. It's about let's play, let's pretend, and they are very good at that. And the more bizarre situation are, the more fun they had, like being in the coffin. That was a privilege to be in the coffin. Or with the boys in Evolution, the more they're supposed to suffer, or when even they have to play the dead boy, then they love that, because it was therefore that was exciting, and that was so fake, not real at all for them. So no, it's a lot of fun. It's could be difficult to get their attention sometimes, of course, especially when they are together. So, and then actors, well, because especially the first film I did, the main characters were children. When I arrived, for instance, on Evolution, to have this, the actress that was playing the mother, and she wanted explanation about her character. I thought, what is she talking about? She's playing a starfish. Doesn't she realize that? And no, I'm joking, but I think my approach with actors is very much based on what I did with children. I'm waiting for them to pretend and to not perform and to be there and to play somehow in a way, in a very child way thing. And for instance, in the Ice Tower with Marion, I think that she was ready to be like that, to just be there and not asking about not reasons or backstories, or probably she had invented herself something about the character she was playing. But no, that's very fresh, in fact, to work with children. If sometimes it's not that easy, but
I mean, your films make it look easy, so I guess you're doing it right. But it's just this fascinating little space, and of course brings me back to Marienbad, where there are no children at all. There are no governesses, there are no cribs, there's no sign of anything, which, I mean, it's not that all the characters are the same age, but they might be. And this further sense of isolation that's just so subtle.
Yeah, it's like they are frozen in some moments of their lives somehow, I think. And there are obviously some slightly older characters, but I don't remember about a real old one, or if indeed not any teenagers at all, of course. So that's the adult world in a way, like this is how it is, and at least in this film. And yeah, it's impossible to imagine them living outside of this place. And this place is a bit maybe in my film like this school and park around it is only made for children of a certain age. This hotel, Marienbad's place, is only for adults and men and women, and all this sort of game of seduction also that they are doing, or competition in a way, in a very oblique ways, because these games they are playing about who is going to win, how you're going to be clever enough to get out of to get the rules of the game, and so on. It's very much a metaphor of, I guess, of the society. And it's I haven't really thought about the film like that, but it's it's terrible to be an adult, no? You know.
Yeah, you don't need to be in hell, you're already there.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful hell, but yeah.
It would be, wouldn't it? And eventually you just get tired of it all.
Yeah.
The psychological tortures, I think, are far more insidious. I mean, that's the Twilight Zone, which of course was contemporaneous to the film. So maybe it's always been there. Maybe this is just that point in the culture where we were ready for something uncanny.
Yeah, absolutely. And for sure, for instance, this time in the 60s, after the film is 61, yeah.
Produced in 1960, released in 61.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, during this 50s, there is all this altered realities, and where after the war, after the nuclear war, and I don't know, we probably are coming in a moment where we need also this to express this alternative reality and uncanny one. I don't know if it's why we are speaking today about Marienbad, but
yeah, I mean, you and I were raised in, we've never known any different. So I suppose it's just like the air we grew up breathing.
Yeah.
And now you get to make your visions and whatever that means to the people who experience them.
Yeah, to it's funny because it's also I was thinking of, I don't know if it's sort of the I often, well, many times I had thought of adapting an author, a Romanian author, Mircea Eliade, and I think I was thinking also about his story, which are stories of other worlds, doors opening to another reality. And he wrote that very much at the time of at a very, very dark moment during even the war or just after the war. And this extreme desire of finding a way to escape to the present or to that reality, to get access to another one, which is also could be also real, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's I'm sorry, I'm going another way, but this idea of a ultimate reality where you could live more fully and escape some
oppression or
yeah, exactly. So often these stories, you don't realize it. When I don't realize that these stories, for instance, of this film have been made at some moment where it was just after very, very dark times. And because I'm a child from the 70s or late 60s, it was a gift for me to grow up in a moment of quite secure and peaceful, at least for Western person, and to only realize that these fascinating films and stories were in fact ways to express or to escape to these very terrible moments.
My thanks to Lucile Hadžihalilović, whose new Blu-ray box set, The Worlds of Lucile Hadžihalilović, is now available from Severin Films and Yellow Veil Pictures. Thanks also to Debbie Shenholz. She knows what she did. You can find Lucile on Instagram at Eminareva, all one word, EMINAREVA, and you can find Last Year at Marienbad on 4K and Blu-ray from Kino Lorber Home Video, though I still have my old Criterion Blu-ray. It's also streaming on Hoopla, Canopy, and Darkroom in the US, and available to rent or buy on various VOD services there. In Canada, it's only available on Hoopla. You can find me on Blue Sky at Norm Wilner, and you can find this podcast there at Semcast, SEMcast, and on the web at someoneelsesmovie.com. The first year of the show is still available for just $20 at payhip.com/Semcast. That's the first 52 episodes of Someone Else's Movie, 40 of which aren't currently available anywhere else. And check out my newsletter, Shiny Things, at shiny-things.ghost.io. I think you'll enjoy it. Our theme song is by The Last Year. If you like it or the show in general, please say so. Leave a review wherever you've been listening. Every little bit helps, it truly does. And check out the other shows on the Frequency Podcast Network while you're doing that. Stay safe, watch movies, get all the boosters. But I've told you that before. I'll see you next week.